February 28, 2026, sometime after midnight in Tehran, the compound of Iran's supreme leader sits in the northern part of the city, a fortified estate surrounded by layers of security that have kept the most powerful man in the Islamic Republic alive for 36 years. Tonight, that security fails. Joint U.S. and Israeli strikes hit the compound in a coordinated operation using intelligence from the CIA to determine the exact whereabouts of Iran's senior leadership. The attack is precise, devastating. When the dust settles, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran since 1989, is dead. His wife is dead. His daughter is dead. His daughter-in-law is dead. But his son survives. Mojtaba Khamenei, 56 years old, is pulled from the rubble. His legs are wounded. Reports will later suggest injuries to his arms, his hands, his face. The extent of the damage is unclear because the Iranian government releases almost nothing. What they do release will turn out to be manipulated by artificial intelligence. In one night, Mojtaba Khamenei loses his father, his wife, his sister, and his home. He is wounded, possibly disfigured, hiding in an undisclosed location while the country he's about to inherit burns around him. The man who operated for decades as the shadow behind Iran's throne, the one U.S. diplomatic cables called the power behind the robes, is about to step into a spotlight he spent his entire life avoiding, and the two countries that just killed his family are already hunting him. To understand who Mojtaba Khamenei is, you need to understand what he was before February 28th, because this is not a man who came from nowhere. This is a man who has been quietly controlling Iran for years without anyone outside the intelligence community fully grasping how much power he held. Born in 1969 in the holy city of Mashhad, the second son of a man who would become the most powerful figure in Iranian politics, he was 9 years old when his father helped lead the revolution that toppled the Shah and created the Islamic Republic. By the time he was a teenager, his father was president of Iran. By the time he was 20, his father was supreme leader. Mojtaba joined the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in 1987 and served in the final years of the Iran-Iraq War. That service forged the relationships that would define his career. The IRGC isn't just a military force. It controls vast segments of Iran's economy, runs intelligence operations across the globe, and commands nearly 200,000 personnel. The bonds Mojtaba built inside the Guard during the war would become his power base for the next 3 decades. After the war, he studied under prominent clerics in Qom. He married Zahra Haddad Adel, the daughter of a former parliament speaker and close member of his father's inner circle. He took control of the Basij, the paramilitary volunteer militia that serves as the regime's tool for suppressing domestic dissent. In 2009, when millions of Iranians took to the streets to protest what they believed was a stolen presidential election, it was the Basij under Mojtaba's influence that crushed the Green movement. Protesters chanted his name, not in support, as a curse. "Wish you death, Mojtaba, so you would never be the next leader." The U.S. Treasury sanctioned him in 2019 for representing the supreme leader in an official capacity, despite never being elected or appointed to any government position. WikiLeaks cables from the U.S. Embassy described him as the principal gatekeeper to his father, the power behind the robes, a shadow that controlled elections, directed the security apparatus, and accumulated billions through a network of business assets spread across the globe, all without ever holding a title. March 8, 2026, 8 days after the strike that killed his father, the Assembly of Experts, the 88-member clerical body responsible for choosing Iran's supreme leader, announces a unanimous vote. Mojtaba Khamenei is now the third supreme leader of the Islamic Republic. But something is wrong. The Assembly's own building in Qom was destroyed by an Israeli airstrike before the vote. Multiple members said they were not informed about the meeting and couldn't attend, despite being in the city. The IRGC pressured members through in-person meetings and phone calls. 8 members tried to boycott. The vote was conducted under conditions that bore no resemblance to the election of his father, which followed a period of relative calm and involved multiple deliberative sessions. And then the silence begins. Mujtaba Khamenei does not appear at his own inauguration. A cardboard cutout bearing his image is presented instead. No video message, no written statement, no recent photograph. When images finally surface on social media accounts bearing his name and are published widely by Iranian media, BBC Verify determines they've been manipulated by AI. In 5 days after his appointment, no confirmed footage of the new supreme leader exists. The man running a nation of 88 million people in the middle of a war with the United States and Israel is invisible. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth states publicly that Mujtaba Khamenei is wounded and likely disfigured, though he provides no evidence of the specific nature of the injuries. Iran's ambassador to Cyprus tells The Guardian that Khamenei suffered injuries to his legs, arms, and hands. He thinks the leader is in a hospital. Among younger Iranians, the absence becomes fuel for ridicule and doubt on social media. Among the IRGC, it doesn't matter. The Guard installed him. The Guard will govern through him if necessary. What matters is the continuity of the revolution, not the visibility of its figurehead. And for the IRGC, Mujtaba Khamenei's decades of loyalty to their institution is worth more than a public appearance. March 13, 2026. 8 days after the strike that killed his father, the U.S. State Department posts a reward through its Rewards for Justice program, up to $10 million for information about key leaders of Iran's military and intelligence apparatus. The list names 10 officials. At the top, Mujtaba Khamenei, Supreme Leader. Alongside him, Ali Larijani, Iran's security chief. Ismail Khatib, Minister of Intelligence, Iskander Momeni, Interior Minister, Ali Asghar Hijazi, Deputy Chief of Staff, 4 additional officials including the IRGC commander and Secretary of the Defense Council, whose names and photographs are withheld. The State Department's message is direct. These individuals command and direct various elements of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Corps, which plans, organizes, and executes terrorism around the world. Tipsters are urged to submit information through Tor or the encrypted messaging platform Signal. The reward includes potential relocation for anyone whose information leads to results. But here is where the story takes a turn that analysts are struggling to explain. On the same day the bounty is posted, Ali Larijani, number 2 on the list, appears in verified video footage attending an anti-Israel rally in Tehran alongside Iran's president and foreign minister. He isn't hiding, he isn't underground, he's at a public rally, on camera, while the U.S. offers $10 million for information about him. U.S. Defense Secretary Hegseth claimed Iran's leadership was cowering underground. The video suggests otherwise. Some analysts see the bounty as a pressure tactic, an escalation designed to put Iran's leadership on notice that the U.S. considers them legitimate military targets. Others see something more uncomfortable. The $10 million reward exposes a gap. America killed the supreme leader in his own home using CIA intelligence, but 2 weeks later, it's offering a public reward for information about the man who replaced him. The most powerful intelligence apparatus on Earth is asking the public to help find a wounded man running a country from a hospital bed. That's either strategic theater or an admission that the intelligence pipeline that made February 28th possible has narrowed significantly since. Mujtaba Khamenei's first public statement comes on March 12th. He does not appear in it. The statement is released through official channels. It is defiant. It promises retribution. It frames the war as a holy obligation. But the voice and the body behind the words remain absent. What makes Mujtaba Khamenei potentially more dangerous than his father isn't ideology, it's personal loss. His father maintained a decades-long Cold War with the United States, built on revolutionary principle and strategic calculation. Mujtaba's war is different. The strikes that elevated him to power also killed his wife, his mother, his sister. The man leading Iran's military response to the U.S. and Israel lost half his family in the opening salvo. Analysts who study radicalization and behavioral escalation in leadership describe this as a worst-case variable. Vengeance is not strategy, but it is fuel, and fuel in the hands of a man who now controls the IRGC, the Basij, and potentially Iran's nuclear ambitions is a terrifying proposition. The Washington Institute for Near East Policy published an assessment warning that Mujtaba Khamenei may decide Iran must move quickly to obtain nuclear weapons to prevent future attacks. His father issued a religious ruling against them. The son has no such constraint. He has no record of opposing a nuclear weapons program. He has every motivation to pursue one. Whether that approach stabilizes the regime or accelerates its fragmentation, it will shape the next phase of a conflict that shows no sign of ending. Meanwhile, on American soil, the consequences are already arriving. 3 ideologically motivated attacks in 1 week, homemade bombs in New York City, a vehicle driven into a synagogue in Michigan, a shooting at a university in Virginia. The FBI, already decimated by the departure of 300 national security agents, is trying to counter a threat environment that the Iran war has supercharged. Every week that Mujtaba Khamenei remains invisible, the mystery deepens. Every week the war continues, the risk of escalation on both sides of the ocean increases. America put a $10 million price on a man nobody has seen since the night his father died, a man who was wounded in the same strike that killed his family, a man who now commands the military, the intelligence services, and the nuclear ambitions of a country at war with the nation that destroyed everything he had. Whether he's governing from a hospital bed, a bunker, or somewhere the intelligence community hasn't found yet, one thing is certain. Mujtaba Khamenei has been watching from the shadows his entire life. The difference now is that the shadows are all he has left, and men with nothing left to lose don't negotiate, they escalate.